Hi, my name is Noelle Stearns. I'm coming to you live today from 1440 Multiversity in Scotts Valley, California, which is in Santa Cruz County. And I have some questions for you watching. Is there a situation or person or painful regret in your life that you wish to let go of, something that's kind of weighing you down? Do you wish that you could see the glass half full? Do you wish you could see life, the beauty in life, even when things around you seem to not be going so smoothly? And do you want to rise out of self-doubt or any sense of inadequacy? If so, today our guest is the perfect guest for you. He is an internationally acclaimed spiritual teacher, very prolific in his writings. He is the author of the best-selling book, The Secret of Letting Go. And he's also written many more, more than 30, I believe even more than 40 other books and audio programs. He also is the director of Life of Learning Foundation in Merlin, Oregon. And he's been all over TV. He has been a guest on more than 500 television and radio shows. And he also leads self-realization seminars throughout Europe and Northern America, including here at 1440 Multiversity. So he'll actually be leading a program here in October. That's the 6th through the 8th, and the program is called The Secret of Letting Go, Awaken the Fearless Self Within You. So without further ado, Guy Finley, thank you so much for being here today. Welcome.
Hi, Noelle.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And I'd like to take a moment too to welcome everyone who's watching from home or work or wherever you're watching from. Hello, everyone. And we got a hello from Pasadena. Hi, Camellia. Thanks for being here today. And anyone else watching, feel free to give us a shout out. Let us know where you are watching from. And if you have any questions for Guy, please feel free to write them in the comments and we will get to them as we go along. So let's make this a conversation and not just an interview. So Guy, but I'll go ahead and start with you. I would love to kind of take it back a little bit to the beginning of your spiritual path. Like what brought you onto this path, this spiritual realm of life? Do you remember a specific person or situation that kind of lured you onto the path?
The truth is, Noelle, that I think that this path, if we'll call it that, began for me when I was still a preteen. I had some experiences as a boy that today, almost 70 years later, I'm just beginning to understand. But suffice it to say that there was enough of an indication and an invitation that I felt to pursue a different course through life. And I answered that intuition as a boy, developed it through the pursuits that I did growing up, had the wonderful fortune later in my life, in my late 20s, early 30s, to study with a true master. His name was Vernon Howard. And to begin this work that now, all of these years later, we're getting ready to talk about, and I'm coming down there to see you.
We look forward to it. But going back to your childhood experiences, is there anything that you would be willing to share? Any sort of, sounds like it was something rather maybe traumatizing or heavy or?
No, nothing. Never anything traumatizing.
Okay.
Always something mysterious, or in some instances, creating a question in my mind that the mind that question was awakened in couldn't answer at the time. But some of it's, for me, a little bit sacred, and I won't share it. I mean, at the simplest level, Noelle, I was born into a very fortunate situation in this world. Of course, fortunate because growing up as I did, the child of a man who was the Time Magazine Man of the Decade. I mean, I had a superlative, at least in the world, father and mother, bless them, they're gone. But it afforded me growing up to run in certain circles of celebrity. So that my childhood friends were the Arnezes and the Martins and the Sinatras and the Minnellis. I mean, that's who I grew up with. But that's not the blessing. The blessing is learning at a very early age that in spite of all these things that these children, including myself, and these families possessed, fear and dysfunction was the main thread that ran through everything. And it's hard to understand when you're a boy, because there I am sitting in the lap of Jane Mansfield, a big star a long time ago, at the Hollywood Christmas parade. My dad's the honorary sheriff, and I smell alcohol on everybody's breath, and everybody's fighting about what car and what order they're going to go down Hollywood Boulevard. So those things I was never able to answer. All I knew was that there was something wrong. And that in whatever I sensed was wrong, there was great pain in the people who were instrumenting that behavior. So I grew up wanting to understand pain, wanting to understand this confusion, and eventually, many, many years later, reached the point where I wasn't afraid of this pain and this confusion. Because it's one thing to want to understand why we hurt, or what's wrong with our lives, or what the limitations are. But it's another thing entirely to recognize where these limitations are and what's the real responsibility for them. And that's been my work over all of these years.
Yeah, and that's, I'd say, the work for a lot of us. I think it's so much easier to point out what is not working in someone else's life than it is in your own.
I'll give you a little hint of something. I just finished writing it in I have a new book coming out next year. I literally just finished writing this idea. Do you know why we blame others?
No, why?
To hide the pain that they reveal to us about ourselves. Why blame somebody for being rude? The limitation isn't theirs, it's mine for not understanding that relationship and why they are the way they are. So there's no love in blame. There's only the consistent finding of reasons and excuses for being the way I am. If someone wants to stop being in their own way, that's what my work is about.
That's good. That definitely resonates with me. So would the work be, if you find yourself wanting to blame someone, to stop instead and look within and what is this triggering in me? Would that be the process, or what do you suggest?
One of the main things that I teach, in fact, something that I'll cover in great depth at the workshop that I'm doing there at your Multiversity, is this idea that revelation depends upon relationship. Let me explain. When you go outside or you turn around and you look at all those dogs on the wall.
This is what he's talking about, by the way.
You can't look at something and in the moment when you look at it, not be given a very distinct impression from what you're looking at. You understand? So if I look at the solar eclipse, I receive a feeling of something ancient and archetype and deep and mysterious that prior to looking up at the eclipse, if that's the case, I didn't know that was inside of me. I didn't know that feeling was in me until through relationship, it was revealed that that moment brings up in me something I can't know otherwise. Are you following me?
Yeah.
So this is a beautiful idea because it means that when we see something beautiful, stirring, humorous, whatever it may be, that in that moment, suddenly I'm awakened to a quality or a characteristic in myself that the moment before I had no idea was there. And if I go and I look at a mountain, I look at something that's beautiful, I hear stirring music, I'm all on board with that. I have no problem whatsoever lending myself entirely to what has been awakened in me through that moment. All good so far, right?
Yeah.
The exact same thing holds true when it comes to something that someone does that I don't like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you see it?
Yeah.
Their action reveals to me a character that is, without me knowing it prior to that moment, a limitation. I
Mm.
don't go into a meeting with somebody or go to dinner with people thinking to myself, right about the time that they bring the salad, I'm going to go nuts because somebody's going to challenge something that I said 10 minutes earlier. But
Right.
I'm sitting there at the table with that nature, aren't I? And the
Mm.
proof that that nature is latent, meaning asleep is the word I use, is that it's not until somebody pushes and quote that button that up pops that part of myself that I was completely unaware of the moment before. Now, the reason that that's a good thing and not a bad thing is because the only way we can transcend a limitation in ourselves is when it is revealed to us by the moment as being such. Then, long-winded answer to your question, if I don't protect that self, if I don't start justifying why I lost my temper or why I am the way I am, I'm left with the purity of that revelation, with the purity of an awareness that has come into that moment to show me something about myself that only the light of that awareness can help me see and eventually let go of.
Mm. So what's the purpose of this kind of work? To have that self-awareness? Is it to generally have more peace in your life or happiness? What's that kind of end? Is there an end goal? What's the goal for all of this?
Well, first of all, there is no end to contentment. There is no end to being whole, and there is no end to being fearless. But the real question that we have to ask ourselves is, what is it that you, Noel, myself, everybody working at 1440, everybody that's going to come to any workshop anywhere, what is it that we're looking for? Why do I do the things that I do? Why am I interested in what I'm interested in? And the
Mm.
short answer is because it's through the attraction in me towards what I'm interested in that I discover the possibilities of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And if in the end, there's no end to discovering the possibilities of myself, because there's no end to revelation, there's no end to freedom. And that's what divinity is. That's what it means to be a whole human being, to begin to participate in a relationship with life in which you are increasingly brought into a moment where there is nothing that can happen to you in it other than a revelation that frees you from who and what you have been up until that moment.
That sounds so good. Is there, as I almost don't even have anything to say after that, but are there specific blocks that you see a lot of people in general facing to get to that point?
We all, we all have the same block, Noel. We think we already know.
That's my block.
No, look, let's make it practical. Bring it again to what we're going to study together.
Yeah.
Can I resist any moment in life without having ahead of that moment an idea about how that life is supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
So that anytime I meet life with resistance, it means that I have gone into that moment with an unseen insistence that something about me knows exactly how things are supposed to be, how you're supposed to go, how people are supposed to treat me, the way the world's supposed to be. Everybody's insane, of course, but me. And all of that nonsense, to begin recognizing in that moment where I suddenly am seized by resistance, that life in its mercy is trying to say, Guy, look, see, you walked in there, you didn't know that something in you insists that people treat you in a certain way. You didn't know that something in you insists that the world move right, not left, or left, not right. You didn't know that because you were asleep to it.
Mm.
So we grow up, all of us, in a constant state of being more or less indoctrinated by our culture, environment, heredity, the social mores of our time, all of these things. We are literally immersed in a world that without knowing it, you can't when you're a child. You just begin to adapt like a hermit crab sticks stuff on themselves because that seems to fit. And at the time, it's appropriate. Nobody's judging anybody here. At the time, it's appropriate. But then life says, Guy, remember that thing that you stuck on your back where it said, nobody argues with you? Look, the problem isn't that somebody's disagreeing with you. The problem is you have that old ex-starfish on your shoulder, and it's cramping you right now, telling you that the pain you're feeling is because of that person. It's not. It's because I'm attached to an old idea that gives me an old identity I don't know what to do without.
Mm. Yeah. I want to take a moment and give a shout out to Chantal. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. She says, hi. We have hello from Grants Pass, Deborah. Just wanted to say hi, Deborah. Elizabeth, there's no love and blame. Great reminder, Guy. Thanks. Yeah, thank you for that one. We have Maria. Hi, Maria. Hi, Steve from Southern California. Erica, Denise, and Carlene from Oregon. Erica will be here at 1440, so we look forward to seeing you, Erica. So just wanted to say hi. You have a question from Elizabeth. She says, a revelation that frees you. That's a wonderful and scary prospect. Is there a way that we can prepare ourselves to recognize revelations that free us? Because sometimes I think we might shy away or even miss the significance of events and moments in our lives.
Look, this is a great question because it goes right to a certain level of our being that we've never known is a limitation. See, if I think I know something, and especially if I'm sure that I know something, am I open to anything that suggests that my knowledge might be incomplete? Or does my certainty create a blindness? I'm asking you. Oh,
I would say the latter.
Yeah, certainty creates blindness. Mm-hmm. So you and I, everybody listening, Elizabeth, we've grown up in this body, and the instrument that we use to interact with each other is more or less the way we react to each other. Reactions are always conditioned. Mm-hmm. There is no such thing as a free reaction. Mm-hmm. Can you see it? If I react, it means something has hit me, and what's hit me is something in my past, and I'm answering back from my past. Mm-hmm. Every reaction rises up out of our past, even a physical one. I'm hit my knee, boink, that's inherent in my body. Yeah. So the idea that we meet life through our reactions to life means that, and listen carefully, Elizabeth, it means we can't be prepared for those moments when we are going to have revelation. What we can do is understand that we're going to fear or resist or try to push away something that has habitually been used by us to justify our negativity. What if we knew, not thought about, in the moment when we get negative, there's no such thing as a good negativity? What would happen when I get negative? It's here I am, it's all throughout me. There is no good hatred or resentment or resistance of anyone or anything. What would happen in the moment where that person comes along? I'd be met bang like that with a contradiction. There would be something in me that knows that what part of me wants to get negative now, that it's not right. But by the same token, that's all I know to feel, is to blame or justify myself for the way that I am. So that beautiful moment where what we know is true meets what has always seemed true to us produces this moment of awareness. You don't prepare to put a hot skillet down, do you, Noelle?
No.
Why?
Do I not prepare to put a,
Yeah.
like to touch one, or to, what do you mean?
Yeah, touch one.
Yeah, because it'll hurt. I don't know. I don't want to burn myself.
Exactly. You don't pick up the skill and go, let's see now, oh man, this is kind of hurting. What do I do with this?
Right.
Right? The pain is the revelation of a mistaken relationship between me and the skillet.
Hmm.
The pain is a mistaken relationship between me and you.
Mm-hmm.
And once I understand that if I'm identified with that pain, our relationship can't go any further, then I see it. I don't think about it. And that's why I say you can't prepare. And it falls away. That's what letting go is. Letting go is growing in the awareness that holding on to negative states hurts. And more distinctly, that the owner of those negative states, a part of our past, our old nature, it's not interested in being free of what defines it. So who and what are we really doing when we let go? Letting go of Noelle, letting go of Guy, who I have called myself, that holds me captive, confined to a set of definitions from who and what I've been. I start to see that. I begin to separate from that. And that's the beginning of letting go.
So what's left when I let go of Noelle? You let go of Guy. What is there? What would you call that?
Do you ever ask yourself what's left after I get rid of a headache?
No. I just can't wait for it to be gone.
But when it's gone, it's gone.
Right.
I don't need anything more when I'm not in pain, because my true nature is contentment. My true nature, I don't want to sentimentalize that. My true nature is awakenedness. My true nature is awareness. It is a reconciling, harmonizing, constantly changing condition. That's my true nature. If I'm in that, where's the problem?
Right.
So if I get caught in a problem, which the old nature wants to do, and in some ways is required, because in one respect, something has to constantly be given up in order for something new to come in. I give up a problem, I give up a resistance, a negativity. I'm not going to sit and go, although I bet you've done this, gee, now I don't have anything to do. Let me think up another problem.
Right. So true. And speaking of letting go, I've got a couple comments saying the screen went black, but the sound is still on. So I'm wondering, can anyone else, is it back? Are we okay? I'm glad the sound is good, but I would love for everyone to see your, let me see, I'm putting up a Guy Finley across the screen, hoping that kind of brings it back, but I'll go ahead and, let's see. Oh, wait. Funny, Camellia says, funny how right after Guy talks about certainty creates blindness, and then we can no longer see the inner synchronicity. So it's saying multiple people, Kimberly, Chantal, Maria, are still saying the screen is black. So I'm wondering if we should keep going with just our voices, or would you like to try signing off and then signing back in and seeing if that helps?
I'll do whatever you want to do. We can sign off and sign back in.
Okay. Can you sign off and I'll stay logged in to see if that somehow shakes things up?
I'm signing off. I'll be back in less than 1 minute.
Okay. Thanks, Guy. See you soon. Well, thank you, everyone. Carlene, Maria, Chantal, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Kimberly, Camellia, for letting us know. So hopefully that fixes it. Is it still black with just me here? Go ahead and see if that changes things. Hi.
I know.
Welcome back. Glad I see you. Oh, sound is perfect. Yes, we're still black. So why don't we just keep going with the interview if you're okay with that? I mean, I feel like the audio, what you're saying, this is a great time, everyone watching, if you want to do some dishes and listen, or if you want to fold some laundry and listen. I mean, you know,
I'm gonna go fold some laundry and listen.
Well, I'm getting more notes. The audio is good. So if you're okay, Guy, I would love to just
I'm
talk.
absolutely fine.
Okay. That's great. And
You might be able to listen better by not seeing me.
right. I wouldn't say that. But I have a question. I almost feel selfish asking it. I don't know if anyone else has this problem, but I don't know if it's even a problem. But there are times where I feel like I do get tapped into that almost observer contentedness mode where I don't have those strong reactions and I'm just soaking in the world around me. But then when I am needed to interact with someone and I'm almost expected to have an opinion or a response or a reaction, and I'm still kind of almost stuck in that observant mode, and I'm find that sometimes I'm not quick enough for what people are wanting from me. Is that a common thing, or what would you have to say about that?
Well, there's quite a few answers to that. One of them is that whatever state I'm in, if it's my state, then it's mine to move around and change. If it's not my state, and rather a state has taken me over, then it's an indication one way or another that somehow I'm either so asleep in this bliss or so oblivious to life because I'd rather not know anything about it at the moment, that whatever that condition is, that's not conducive to being in this body, in this life. Mm-hmm. There is a very well-known, it's not necessarily a Western scriptural or Eastern for that matter, but we as human beings are intended to naturally remain, as I'll invite everybody to do right now as I'm practicing myself, we're intended to either be present, mindful, aware of ourselves, or if we need to go into practical thought, such as I'm going to the bank and I better know how much money I'm withdrawing, that then I need to be able to come out of that naturally mindful state, which is inclusive of all the environment, and into a specific attention to the details the moment asks me for. The minute I'm done with those details, if I have the capacity, then I return to a mindful state. But most of us can't return to a mindful state because there's so much left undone at the bank. All the, geez, well, I thought I had more money than that, or what am I going to do when this happens? And God, my kid this and my daughter that and all the rest of that. And we're gone down the black rabbit hole, caught up in a train of thought that keeps providing a sense of ourself that's familiar, but that within which there's no freedom at all. Look, think about this for a moment. We think that when we resist a condition, that it proves we're free because we can make a plan to get away from the problem. That's what we think freedom is. We can imagine an end to our problem. That is not freedom. Freedom is not finding a way to live with pain. Freedom is being able to use pain to change our nature and wake up from that false identity the pain belongs to. So it's not the continuity of a condition, which is what we have when we try to escape a pain or a problem or a relationship. It is the discontinuity of that content of ourself that's identified with that person or that predicament. Then back into awareness, back into being present to ourselves, and not easily called out of that because we're not caught up in the world of thought and its opposites, jumping back and forth between what to do and what not to do, so forth and so on. Was that clear?
Yeah. I also have a question from Carlene. She says, why do humans get caught in destructive patterns that hurt, like physical addictions or relationships with negative people? It hurts, so why don't we just let go naturally? Good question.
The relationship is never the source of the pain. The relationship is never the source of the pain. The real source of the pain is our attachment to the identity that we derive from it. The more we understand that, we stop blaming and wondering, what do I do about him and what do I do about that? And instead tend to my knitting. The real problem is that I don't know who I am without this person that's hurting me, but I don't want to be who I am with this person that's hurting me. See, that's a loop that we never escape. But to begin to recognize the reason I'm in pain, because the world went left, or my partnership did that, or my friend did this, is because there's something in me so buried in an identity there that I'm trying to make everything the way I want it to be. And if you want to know what the recipe for pain and resentment is, just try to control people and life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Gosh, there's so much packed in there. I had all these questions pop up too. But
we can do this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's take a nice deep breath and let some of this nice information soak into us. We're not going anywhere.
I like that. Okay.
I mean, I know it's an interview. We can't just sit and be mellow.
Right.
Because that's not practical, right?
Yeah.
But neither do we have to let some part of us push us forward.
Yeah. Thanks for saying that.
Yeah.
I like that. So, going back to what you're saying, what if we can recognize that which is holding us back, even within ourselves? But I mean, does it take us a kind of strength or courage to let it go? And how do you cultivate that inner strength or whatever you need to let go? Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Look, if it was a question of strength, and that's what's wrong, that's why I can't make a change in myself, then eventually we would be able to find the strength somewhere to make a change in ourselves. Because when we get pushed and pushed and pushed, and then we push back and push back and push back, we say, by God, somehow or other, I'm going to get past this point. But now everybody listening, please bring all of this that we're talking about into your frame of experience. I'm going to use Noelle as your advocate. You ready, Noelle?
Yeah.
Take a nice deep breath. Have you ever had a problem in life?
Yes.
Did you ever have to repeat that problem like 100,000 times?
About there, yeah.
Okay. And when you finally learned the lesson, was it because you were strong? Or was it because you finally saw that you had to let go of what was in the way of that lesson, namely Noelle?
Mm-hmm.
So real strength is the recognition that the true strength we need comes from this beautiful relationship between an intelligence that's providing revelation for us and our willingness to let go of what it reveals. Because then the addiction drops away, the abuse drops away, the demands that we have on ourselves that we be a certain kind of person, all that just starts to fall away like old leaves on a tree. Because why? We get it. The reason I didn't learn the lesson before was because I was clinging onto this idea that I'm past it, or that I've grown past, that I'm different than that, when everything's telling me, no, you're not different than that. This is the situation. The fact that you can explain it to yourself doesn't free you from its pain.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start to realize, okay, the pain is trying to tell me something. It's trying to show me I'm holding on to something that doesn't work. Not that I can't let it go, but that something in me is clinging with two fists to some identity, some image I have of myself. So as I start to recognize the problem is the image and the attachment to it, the minute that happens, the dream is over. Maya ends. Illusion collapses. And I'm left with an understanding the only thing that was ever in the way was what I didn't understand about myself. So that the more I'm willing to understand about myself through revelation, the more I am gradually brought into a world where that's all I want, is to be free every moment of my life because that's what God intends for us, is that constant state of liberation. Real moksha, the real deal, not the imagined deal. The actual state of being in a creative relationship with life where I'm never not new.
If there's a pattern that we recognize, a destructive pattern or something we don't want to be in anymore, but we haven't had that revelation, but we know that there's something about ourselves, is there a way to kind of cultivate or bring that forward, the revelation? Is there a way to fast forward that process?
And, look, how do I explain this as best I can? When we have these moments in our lives where something repeats itself and repeats itself and repeats itself, we start to go, no, 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 no. Why, God? Why are you being cruel to me? Why, life, are you treating me like this? Instead of understanding that it's the mercy of what is divine that keeps bringing you back to that point where the resistance appears to the condition. The resistance is an indication I'm refusing a revelation. If I can start to see, you know what, okay, here I am, he said that again, she did this again, my family's like that again, or whatever the thing may be, or there I am eating another quart of ice cream, and blaming the soap opera, whatever it is, I don't know what people do, but whatever it is that's going on, in that moment, if I feel that resistance come up in me, then I can use it instead of it using me now. Here's a story. I like to tell stories. If anybody's read any of my books, you know that I do. This is one of my favorite stories about how we can do what you're talking about, use it. Here's a man, he goes to a third world country in order to visit some open air markets that he's heard there's marvelous produce there that he can't see anywhere else in the world. And he likes to work with and be around indigenous people. He's hiking down a road from where he's staying to where a road intersects going into the open air market. When he looks down the road and he sees something he can't believe. You won't believe it either, Noel. Here's a man, and he's been saddled by a donkey, and the donkey's riding him, and he's pulling the cart with the sugar cane in it. Now, our hero, the traveler, can't believe what's going on, and using an interpreter, he says, "Excuse me, sir, I don't want to, maybe this is a tradition I haven't learned about yet. Maybe it's the best way to sell sugarcane. But why in God's name is the donkey riding you?" And the translator finally gets this back to the traveler. He said, it's because that's the only way he could get the donkey to go to the market with him. So, are we supposed to be saddled by negative thoughts and feelings? Are we supposed to be saddled by our attachments that put reins on us and drive us wherever the heck they want to take us? Or has something happened that we haven't seen? And that resistance is always trying to push away this essential revelation that our nature has been turned upside down, that we've lost contact with an essential divinity, a right, not just to be present in our lives, but to be part of what life is bringing into this world in order to be part of its perfection. All that's gone because we're trying to perfect ourselves and others according to our belief the way they're supposed to be. That's the donkey riding the man.
Mm-hmm. That's a good. I have another question from Jocelyn. Sorry if I've mispronounced that. It seems as if certain moments bring up certain eyes, and each time I observe, I learn more about that eye before I identify with it again. Whenever I awake to the pain, I come back to myself. And I'll do this over and over and over again. Is each attempt at being awake the moment being the teacher?
Yes, simply put, we've all heard the expression, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. We all know that. What we don't know is the nature of the teacher. because we think there's good teachers and bad teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Good teachers are the ones that prove to me I'm mellow and I'm on top of my game, and bad teachers are the moments that challenge the image I have of myself of being mellow, because now I'm the least thing mellow that ever lived. So when the student is ready, the teacher appears. The moment of revelation, which is every moment of existence, is the teacher, which means the revelation is incessant, which means the student's capacity to outgrow themselves is also ceaseless.
Wow. Let that one sink in. I really feel what you said, the teacher appears when the student is ready, and I have got to say, that's how I feel about you coming into my life in 1440 Multiversity. I can't believe that I don't know, that I hadn't heard of your books before, and I looked into them like, this is so perfect for what I need right now, and I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. And I saw a note about your book, The Secret of Letting Go, and how it's been continuously in print since the 90s. And I'm wondering if you think that says anything about our times, that work and this kind of concept of letting go is still so relevant over so many years.
Definitively so. And in some ways, never more so. Because things, when we finally learn a lesson, let's say I have an addiction or of any kind, I'm caught on a substance, I'm addicted to a certain image that I have of myself, or I'm stuck on my partner who abuses me, but I'm afraid to make a change. What happens is that these lessons, they keep coming back and coming back and coming back. And the more the experience returns to us, you could say, if we're fortunate, the more disturbing it is to us. We want it to be more disturbing. We see, everything in us wants to get rid of the disturbance, whatever it is, Noel. That's basically our default action is, you're bothering me, go away. The real action of a man or a woman who wants to be awake and have a relationship with what is divine is not to say, you're bothering me, go away, but rather, please tell me more about myself. What don't I see in this moment? So that these lessons, as they speed up, as individuals, we can see this is true. As a society, it's true. We are beginning to come to the end of the idea that we can be made whole and happy and content, not just through powers or possessions, but through ideas that we embrace as our own, spiritually speaking. The spiritual life is not an intellectual process. It isn't a process of numbing ourselves with our mantras or our exercises or whatever we do. The true spiritual life, I like to call it, it's a full contact sport. It's something that we are engaged in over and over again. And not because we want to. We start saying, I want to. And then life says, okay, Guy, here, take a look at this. And I go, well, not that part. Let me look at something else. But it comes back and it comes back and it comes back. Why? Because something's trying to punish me? Or because something that is loving in life wants to perfect me? We get that. We start to understand that what we're pushing away is the divine's action to perfect us so that our will reflects what is divine. Heaven and earth married at last, in the true meaning of the Christian term. At last, an individual starts to understand, now I get it. Please help me, because I know I'm going to need it. And then the real prayer comes out, God help me, because I'm a resistance machine. That's what I do. I go, no. But every once in a while, I start to say, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. A little bit at a time. You see what I'm saying? Because I stopped being afraid. Listen, people who are watching, you want to write something down or listening, write this down. There is no such thing as a bad fact about yourself. There's no such thing as a bad fact about yourself. Anything that resists a revelation is part of what is keeping you captive in the world that honors that limitation, not trying to free you from it.
Beautiful. I have a question for Mark. Logistically, he says, will this be going up for viewing again? And Mark, yes, when this is over, it'll be rebroadcasted on our page. And Guy Finley, feel free to share it on your page as well if you can. We'll put it up on YouTube as well. So yeah, any of those three places, Mark, you can catch this again and from the very beginning. And if you did miss the beginning, I introduced Guy Finley, who is a internationally renowned spiritual teacher, and he's teaching here at 1440 Multiversity in August, the 6th through the 8th.
October.
Oh, I'm sorry. October. Thank you so much. In my head, I was seeing October. October 6th through the 8th, which is a weekend program that's Friday through Sunday. And the program title is The Secret of Letting Go, Awaken the Fearless Self Within. Guy, is there anything you would like to say about the program? Any lessons that you'll be talking about there?
At least one thing anyway. Mm-hmm. We've been hinting at this, but we'll kind of put a bow on it, so to speak. What am I afraid of in this life? I mean, most of us avoid a question like that. I'm not afraid of anything, or, maybe somebody say death, or, losing my home, but that's not what we're afraid of. The things that we're afraid of are the moments that show us our limitations. That's what we're afraid of, and that's all we're afraid of. I'm afraid of losing my home because I know I'll go nuts without the comfort. Not because I won't have the comfort, but because something in me projects who and what I'll be without all that I've known. And I'm afraid of what I imagine. So fear is always imagined. Can't have a psychological fear without negative imagination. You cannot have a psychological fear without negative imagination. So if we begin to recognize that this fear in me is born of some idea, it's not mine. I don't think to myself sitting here, what do I argue with people about other than I'm not limited? You don't know me. I may not be able to say it or act it out, but within me there is this immense wealth of power and all that. And no, the fact of the matter is that inside of us is something that doesn't want to meet itself. And so to protect itself, it fears the condition that would reveal it. Now to the point. If we understood, as we will, as I'm going to talk about at 1440 anyway, there is no one in the world, not one person in the world, no, that's made like you are or I am. Not one person is deficient. Not one person is insufficient. Each of us is an absolutely unique creation that is intended to recognize its role in creation, not assume the mantle of being a creator the way the psychopathic culture has us doing now, spiritually too, all that nonsense. There's a role for that. I'm a creator, I write. But what I write and create, I'm the instrument of. And there's a big difference in that, because then I don't take myself seriously, number one, but more importantly, I recognize that, I am created to change. Not to control, not to convince, not to possess. I'm created to change. And nothing in the universe can change the way I change or the forces that act on me to produce that change. Nothing. And if I'm properly aligned with that, I have no fear. Because who and what I was the moment before is gone the moment I've been changed by the divine. Gone. I'm not that anymore. Attachments disappear. Not because I want to not have attachments, which, by the way, is an attachment, but rather because I'm liberated from a part of myself that believed without those things I would be vulnerable. We must learn to be absolutely vulnerable to the revelations that want to release us from a false nature bound by these attachments and the identity it produces.
There was that nice bow. There you go. I'm going to put the link up on the screen. I assume we're still blacked out. The screen is blacked out for everyone watching, but I'll try anyways. The link for his program is 1440, so that's 1440.org/program/the-secret-of-letting-go. Or simply, you can go use the link that is in this Facebook caption, or 1440.org, and search Guy Finley. So you'll see more details on his program there. And any last words, Guy? I know I've asked you that before, but is there anything that pops up that you would like us, the viewers, to know? Or
maybe, I always say no, there's not, and then something comes up. I just say this one thing, and it's in the form of an invitation to come to 1440. And if not, or it's prohibited for whatever reason, to at least visit my website and learn about the ongoing talks that I give. So much material available for free years worth. But here's the point. We're sitting here, you and I, Noel, and I know we've had a nice conversation. We can feel a very nice energy. This is part of that spirit. So now I have this nice feeling, and I acknowledge the feeling. But like you said, how do I take a feeling that I've acknowledged and turn it into a living knowledge that's with me every moment of the day? So I must act knowledge. I can't take the feeling that I have for being the proof that I have it. I can't take the feeling that I have for the proof that I have it. How many times do we have to run through that game before we discover that I thought I had the backing of an army behind me, and all there was a small dog, and there was nothing there, just a little dog growling. Point being, learn to act on the knowledge. To act on the knowledge, I have to work with the knowledge. To work with the knowledge, I must be immersed in it and agree to do what it asks me to do. Come to 1440, study these ideas, find out about these principles, and they will do for you what you have not been able to do for yourself, which is let go of everything that limits you.
Thank you for that invitation. And your website, for everyone watching, his website, I believe, is it guyfinley.org?
Yeah, GUYFINLEY.org. And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I'm going to do it. I'm inviting you to the work.
I would love to be there, and I'll be here.
As best you can. And if you have a chance to see each other, that would be nice.
Yeah, that would be. And I will make it a point to be here for sure. Thank you so much. And everyone watching, thank you. We had Melissa say this has been great. Thanks so much. Very profound. Rajni, Camelia, Chantal, everyone's just giving you lots of thanks, Guy. So thank you from us also here at 1440 Multiversity, and we look forward to seeing you. And anyone watching that will be joining him at his program. We'll see you in October.
Pretty soon. Bye, Noel.
Bye. Thank you.